What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Crypto Insider. My name is Paul Sampson, and today we're going to be looking at Bitcoin, Ethereum, Dogecoin, and Ocean Protocol. Doge and Ocean were requested from the last few videos here, so we're going to go ahead and do an update on that. And let's just jump right into the charts, not wasting any time. So for Bitcoin, on the Saturday update, we were trading into that $66,000 target area that I was trading personally at the time from this low, basically. And I was actually mentioning, the big thing was that even though I was taking profits there, it was just a short-term trade. I was just looking to get in and get out, but I was anticipating the move back up to the all-time high, right? At the time, this was the local gold pocket, right? Coming in that region, there was an untapped weekly level there, a couple of other things as well, right? So, but all in all, it was kind of the line in the sand and still kind of remains that. So just zooming in here to a little bit more locally, you can see on the 4-hour time frame, we have, by the way, closed the daily candle back above that region now, right? So we haven't done that since the 16th of March, it looks like here. So at the time, we do have to anticipate that this could very well be a support resistance flip, right? When just taking, emotions out of the play and just seeing if, we're going to get continuation. I mean, this is what you want to see, right? This is a really key level at the moment to be living above. And simple targets, once again, to the upside for me is, I'm looking at this trend-based $80,000 area here. Then if we push up a little higher up into that 1272 fib extension. So those are the next two big areas for me, barring, 75,000, which if you take a trend-based, just pull from this local region here, from that low to the high to the low, you get a local gold pocket of a trend-based extension. So that is right above the high, comes in about 75,000. And then the 1-to-1 is notably right at the 1272. So a little confluence up here if we continue up. So those would be my next three targets. Simple as that, right? So, and then as far as any kind of a pullback, if we start living back below this previous all-time high, it's just one of those times where we're just really ranging around a really key level here. And it's kind of a chopped city, right? Because, when we get it back above it, everybody's really excited. When we get back below it, everybody's really, kind of fearful and, a little worrisome, which for good reason. Like, you really, it's the one level that really determines if we're going to, get that continuation or if we're going to see a little bit more of a pullback. So at the moment, the trend is, looking up. We've kind of broken this little downtrend here, right? We had a bunch of lower lows, lower high, lower low, lower high. This was our first higher low. And then now we've got a higher high. So, you have to acknowledge that and anticipate more upside. If we do start to drop it, though, weekly open is a big key level for me. We've got the weekly average down here, that weekly pivot, and we got a weekly naked point of control from last week's range. Let's just take a look at that last week's range really quickly. So on top of this being the previous all-time high, this was also last week's high. On top of that being the weekly level, the gold pocket, all those things, right? That was an area I was looking for to see if we came up and we swept it to give us a little short trade. But we did not get that, right? We got basically just a straight push through, claiming both these levels so far. We haven't actually came back and back tested them officially. But yeah, this is just actually another level of support right here as well, being that that's last week's high also. So coming down and holding above, that just, like I said, leads to more upside. If we start to close back within this region, well, then I'd look for that move, back into these areas here. So simple as can be. And then obviously I still got the box area down here. Just as something I'm aware of, right? We've got the 382 is a big level. If we were to start living back below that previous all-time high, this would be, just something I got in mind, right? So it's not necessarily something I'm married to, but it's just a key region for a couple of different reasons, right? You got the monthly average of March, we've got the February naked point of control, and we've got the macro 382 all kind of stacked up in here. There's actually a couple other things that have just kind of cleaned it up to be the most relevant. So that is the overall Bitcoin outlook for me right now. So Ethereum got that box area down below us. That's a little bit closer than Bitcoin's is. We actually have gotten a pretty big pullback compared to Bitcoin. I think Bitcoin only pulled back like 15-ish, maybe 18%, maybe 20, but ETH pulled back 25. Front ran the monthly pivot just a little bit there, but did get a little bounce from it since. And same deal, right? We had a pretty nice little downtrend here. Overall, you still have a high and a lower high. So, I mean, in grand scheme, it could still be, a downtrend kind of unfolding here, but otherwise you've got a new high, a higher low, potentially a higher high. So we could be, making our way back up here. One key thing I just wanted to point out here is just on a low time frame type of deal. And I actually took the short on Ethereum here off of this move. was we had our previous week high, and very similar, one of the big, just a short-term trade that I look for, all the time, is going to be when we sweep either the previous week's high or low, or the previous day's high or low. Even could be, really the previous month. But yeah, this was we came up and we swept that pretty nicely. Actually got a few times at it. And then it going down to even the daily wise, we had the sweep of yesterday's high as well. So it was just a couple things that just kind of all stacked up together there. Doesn't mean, it's just going to fall from here, not necessarily, but it just opens up the door for a short-term trade, right? So even this was like 2.5% at the peak today so far. And if it continues down, I'd be looking to take profit into these levels here. Still the most key regions for myself, if I'm looking for some just grand old fresh entries, is going to be, at least in this box region here, if we make it, right? So that's still an area I'm targeting. And I say targeting in the sense of like, could it just launch from here? Yes. But this is an area where, if we come back into here, this is going to be the ideal entry area for me, as far as like some new mid to long-term plays for Ethereum, and realistically the rest of the market as well. Okay, Ocean Protocol here. I've only had a few levels on this chart for quite a while, and we've come into pretty much the three of them, right? So basically a macro gold pocket over here from the all-time high to the low. There was an untapped monthly level in that region as well. You could probably start to look at this as like a rounded bottom. Maybe you're starting to make a cup and handle. So I'll go ahead and kind of look at this. If, I wasn't in this position already, what would I be looking for? And honestly, it would be potentially a pullback to this yearly level. If I'm looking for, once again, some just fresh entry ideas, where the entry is key, right? So you don't want to come into something that's pumped, even though it could pump higher, but being at risk of a 20 and 30% pullback as soon as you get in, right? And that's what most people do. So the fresh ideal area for me would be a pullback into these areas here. We've already gotten the pullback to the 2022 high. I really like the 12-month level right here I have marked out, this 85 cents. You can see if I zoom it in a bit, I've got the quarterly VWAP comes in right here as well. Pretty close. So yeah, I mean, if we were to get any downside here, this like 91 to 85 cent region would be, on my radar. And then if we just blew through that, like, I would imagine like we'd get let's just say Bitcoin gets a massive pullback, or Ethereum, or the rest of the market, obviously. Then this gold pocket, which comes back to these swing highs here, would be the next one there for me. But yeah, I really wouldn't overlook this 12M. And then as far as any more upside from here, obviously, if we start to flip this region and live above it, start closing dailies, 4 hours, things like that, you can almost look at this as like a bull flag, by the way, right? Which you're looking at, just kind of throwing out a really quick version. And generally what you look at that, in a sense, is you take the flagpole and you would pull that. Some tend to put it at the high here. I think it's a little bit, it's a little subjective. It just depends on you. The reason I like to pull it from this region here is it gives me a little bit of a front run, even if we were to measure it from the high there, it's going to give us a little bit of a front run to like maybe where most people are targeting, right? So like, I want to make sure that if I was targeting off of this alone, at least, which I wouldn't do, but if I was, I'd want to front run, a little bit of where maybe most people would be targeting, right? So that's one thing. The reason I wanted to point this out though specifically was because when you start getting into, a little bit more, confluence necessarily, when I'm looking at this, I'm looking for, okay, if this was the, current low, whatever, we're going to break out and we're continuing higher. You take the trend-based fib extension, and I'm just going to pull it from this local low to that local high to the local low right here. Similar to Bitcoin, right? Where we've got a trend-based gold pocket now. So now if we were to trade this, you got a couple of take profit areas you could look for, right? And then it's one of those things, if you're not going to trade it short term, just know that when you come into these little speed bumps that you might get a rejection, and that's why, right? A lot of people tend to invest in things for a longer period of time, but then they get really worried or, troubled by, some of the smaller term moves, and just understand that like, these are the reasons behind that, right? There's actively hundreds of thousands of people trying to trade this market every day, right? So even though the overall move could be very well up, you're going to, even look at this, how many pullbacks did we get during this little move? But at the moment, it just seems like it just went straight up. But if you were living that out, it's not the case. Anyway, so for like a bull flag, this is how you would measure it. And I would just put that right here. And then look, it gives you like right to that 1-to-1, which is just, and a thing I would look to is confluence more than anything. But I look to these, these 1-to-1s and the golden pockets and the trend-based extensions very often. So it's just, kind of a stack on here. But either way, I'd be looking for like 95 cents for that move up if we start living basically above that 130 area. So like right above where we're at, if you were to get in on something like that, potentially a 50% move to the upside, right? And that would be no leverage needed. That's what I'd be targeting here out of Ocean for the next move up there. And like I said, ideally, I'd be looking if I want to get into this, it'd be the higher risk, the best risk to reward for me would be coming back down to like 85 cents. And then it would be really golden to come back down to this level here. But otherwise, I'd be looking if I was somebody that's going to just jump into it when I'm like, I just have to have Ocean. I don't want to miss that next move. We're kind of range bound for the moment right here. And I'd be looking to flip that region there and then take it up, right? So that is what I'd be doing there. All right, Dogecoin. I've touched on Dogecoin quite a bit. I trade Dogecoin often myself. We had a huge range we had broken out of, right? We had a yearly average of price here. We had the quarterly high. We had all the things, right? This little box here has still remained the area for me to flip basically for any more upside. Really simply puts, this local high here, the Q4 high there. Basically, that's probably that's not the yearly. We've already looked at that. But yeah, so living above this 17 cents is like the gateway to, in my eyes, really 30. We've got some speed bumps along the way. We got a really nice pullback, which was like 40%, I believe. Let's just take a peek. It was monstrous, right? 42%. Where did it come to? Probably the gold pocket. Sure did, right? Right to that 618.65, right on the monthly level, right? So it's similar to that Ocean protocol, what I was just looking at, right? That's what you want to see. Like that's the ideal area to get in. You don't want to get into something that's pushed up so much. Even though it could continue up in 2 weeks, that the 2 week period where you'd have to maybe sit in a 40% loss, not ideal, or you get stopped out and, whatever. So that is what I, really a good example of what I would like to see out of Ocean for the ideal entry. Otherwise, whatever, looking at Doge here, got a nice bounce. We're back above the key level. I'm looking to see if we run this up into the gold pocket here from the upside. And that's into 24 cents. There's a 6-month area here as well, but I'm really looking at 30 cents here in the future here, right? So yeah, so that was actually the few altcoins I wanted to cover. I'm actually going to cover ICP as well because that has had a pretty good move here, and that's another one that we've covered quite a bit on even the Verified the Crypto Insider channel, right, or show. So one of the very first episodes that I did of this, I covered this little region right here, right? We had moved up. Last year, we were looking for this target. This was the yearly average of price. We hit it literally on December 31st from that breakout, which was a pretty nice move there, right? Even just from the midline here is like 220 overall 400. But even just say if you caught the breakout, it's like 130% right off the rip in a couple of weeks. Then we've just been basically living here, right? And what this is that this was the 2023's average of price. This was this 2024. So we had these two. It was the battle of the averages, right? And we just kind of sandwiched in between them, kind of poking down below, poking up above. Overall, launched off of this last time, and we got into this old range where basically we've got the point of control coming in, where we just basically kind of swung into right now. Maybe we get a pullback, and once this is not something I'd buy now. This is one that you'd really want to see a pullback and claim, right? So the come down and hold this region, right? That's the idea. You break up, you kind of hold, and then you move on. Could this just cycle this whole range at this point? Yes. And $28 would be my target. Let me just see something really quickly. All right, I'm just looking at a local pull here for gold pocket, 0.5 fib, 0.382. 382 kind of comes into these highs. So, pulling back, if we get like a 1680 to basically that yearly average right there, that 1550 area, that's really what you'd want to, see and kind of look for if you're going to get, a more ideal entry than where we are right now. And that's what, like 20% move if you get a pullback. Problem is that at this level, could just run the range, right? So it's the battle we all play, and it just comes down to your risk management on how you want to play that. We had a lot of time in this region here, of course, but yeah, now we're in this area here, and would ideally like to see basically this, right? So now you've got your highs, right? We've got just like a bit of a higher low situation coming in. Now we'd want to see we got a higher high. Let's see if we make that higher low. The gold pocket is actually just a little bit below here. But then from there, we'd look to run it up, right? So that's the next target for me, regardless, is going to be $28, whether or not we just shoot there from here, or if we get a little pullback first and then we go up. This has rallied a substantial amount here in the last few days, right? This is something that's up like 90%. It's a large cap at that. So seeing like a 20% pullback or a 10, 15 is it's not out of the cards by any means. So that's what I'd be looking for, and just keeping a level head about it. And you know, if you're not in something like this at the moment, just if it goes without you, it goes without you, right? Like that's just kind of the unfortunate part. It's got about a 40% move to the next target for me. So you're like at risk of getting a 20% pullback to make 40%. Maybe not the best, but up to you, of course. Either way, that's what I'm targeting, and that's how I'll be, you know, taking a peek and viewing ICP in the coming days. All right, everybody. I hope you all enjoyed this verified investing episode. Once again, my name is Paul Sampson. I come to you with these every Saturday around 1 p.m. Eastern and Tuesday nights at 7 p.m. Eastern, give or take. Please leave a comment down below if you have an altcoin you'd like me to cover. I tend to look at them heavily and cover the requests on Tuesdays. Aside from that, if you're interested in actually having access to all of my analysis, the trades I'm taking, everything of that nature, I am launching a crypto alert service, essentially, where it's kind of like a trading group where I'm going to put all my analysis, the actual trades I take, entries, exits, along with, you know, a ton of trade setups in general. So it's not just going to be only the few trades here and there. It's going to be a ton of setups, the actual trades I'm taking as well. A ton of content. Going to have some fundamental backing in there as well. Just a really, really big value add, essentially. So that is going to be releasing the end of this week. So I'll have more information about that. So stay tuned if you're interested in that. Otherwise, I hope you'll have a great remainder of your evening, and I'll see you all in the next video.